Previously on the RadNat video game show.
I'm back.
From your grave.
Finally, I'm here.
Whoa, didn't you, rocket into space and die last time?
Oh, you needn't worry about that.
Yeah, alright, I'll see how this plays out.
The Mascot Wars! Mid-90s to the mid-2000s, every game company was trying to create a mascot to rival that of the video game giants that are Mario and Sonic. Most of these were completely unmemorable. Awesome Possum, Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel, wasn't one of them just named Jewel? The one that always stood out to me was Gex. I can't stop thinking about Gex! But why are we talking about Gex? I mean, if Gex was at all memorable or worthwhile, we'd still have Gex games today, right? Or at least one of those retro throwback Kickstarter things that are always happening. Well, I mean, clearly you don't know my videos. I never talk about anything relevant. So why am I so obsessed with Gex? Why can't I forget that smirking green grin?
Taste my tail!
Why do you haunt me, Gex?
It's tail time!
I've barely played the games!
So Gex begins with a little cutscene giving us the setup.
It all started so simply. I had just finished my usual morning routine of nude funkercise, fired up the Barca-Lounger, grabbed a quick bite to eat, and prepared to watch some serious tube. Little did I know, my snack was sent by Rez.
So what we learned from this is Gex is a gecko who is obsessed with TV and movies. And during one of his frequent binge watches, he is kidnapped and sucked into the TV by the evil Rez.
Wait, why? And who is Rez? Let's crack open the menu.
Play ball!
Crystal Dynamics 32-bit lineup with all the nose bleeding, brain bruising, and eye-grabbing power that you'd expect from the leader. Third generation 32-bit software. In your face.
Okay, if you leave the title screen on for a bit, instead of getting a demo mode like most games, you'll get a surreal trailer for Crystal Dynamics, Gex's developer. You know, Crystal Dynamics has actually made a variety of interesting games, such as the Blood Omen series, which are loved by a cult fan base for their interesting universe and amazing story.
Are there any other games we could play?
But this trailer is something else. Normally, most games would put an attract mode here, which is a weird holdover from arcades where it would show some cool gameplay or a sizzle reel to try and draw you in to play on this machine instead of the other machines.
I think he's dead.
Hey, pal, walk it off.
Also, walk it off? What does that catchphrase mean in the context of a game developer? Like, I've heard it before. Like, yeah, you know, it's an old thing coaches and stuff say. You get hurt and just, like, walk it off for a cramp or whatever. But for a game company slogan, it's almost weirdly antagonistic and seems like a threat, which I guess is pretty common in the edgy 90s. Sony literally taunted players with "You are not ready."
Like to be humiliated by women. Here's your dream date. You are not ready.
And did you ever notice how Sony always had strange and fantastic trailers for their consoles, but then very weak actual game selection during launches?
I mean, it felt like years before the PSP had any decent kind of library. Oops, I've really digressed here. Anyways, who is Rez? And why does he want Gex? And who is Gex for that matter? Let's check the manual.
Ah, Hawaii, a lush tropical paradise famous for many things. Magnum P.I., Hawaiian Eye, that TV show starring Jack Lord's hair. And most importantly, the world's largest population of gecko lizards. That's right, geckos. And one family of geckos in particular had a very special problem. Deep in a valley of Maui lived a gecko family that was just trying to make ends meet. Mom had her paws full raising 3.5 kids. Their numbers were dependent on their regenerative powers, while Dad was away doing research for NASA. Gex, the oldest offspring, was a bright lad who would spend his days with his friends, surfing, playing the ukulele, and throwing poi parties down on the beach with the local lady lizards.
Lady lizards. Ping. Wink. Wink. Get it? They're gonna have sex.
That all changed, though, the day his mother got a call from NASA telling her the tragic news. The rocket containing Dad and 10 other volunteers, chosen to see if they would eat tapioca pudding in zero gravity, had exploded on the launch pad due to a Band-Aid floating in one of the fuel tanks. The family's carefree upper middle class life was shattered.
Gex's dad died. His father just died. This is a silly platformer. It's a cartoon platformer where it mix TV references.
Engage!
His dad just exploded in a rocket.
Rocket Man!
What?
While the rest of the family dealt with their grief in the usual manner, crying, infighting, and rummaging through Dad's stuff, Gex bottled up his feelings. He took refuge in front of the only thing in the house that had always provided him with undemanding comfort: the television. Gex found out that in his time of need, all his old and sometimes forgotten friends were still there, ready to take his mind off his troubles.
So Gex, the gecko known for making silly TV quotes, all that is a coping mechanism for losing his father. I want you to understand where I'm coming from with this, because this blurb in the manual is where this video started to take off the rails. I was gonna do like a normal ass review of Gex, and I read this blurb because I was wondering why did Raz kidnap Gex, and there's 5 pages in here of like this. What? Gex's father died in a rocket explosion, and his constant TV references and jokes are a coping mechanism for the loss of his father.
There was Kimbo the White Lion, eager to take him on an adventure through the African savannas. The $6 million man would stop by with a quick bionic pick-me-up. The Partridge Family would play a song and then shake their heads at the wacky antics of Mr. Reuben Kincaid. These were Gex's true friends, and he was willing to spend the rest of his life in their groovy company. Try as she might, Gex's mom could not pry her son away from the boob tube. So, after consulting with the family minister and the weird guy at work, she decided it was time for a change of scenery. They were going to leave Hawaii and start a new life in California. 1 week later, a moving van pulled up in front of the family's new ranch-style home in Encino, California, surrounded by white picket fences and white supremacists. Jesus. As the moving men unloaded a crate containing Gex and his beloved TV, his mother exclaimed that she was excited about the family's new beginning. Gex just laughed and told her that was exactly what Maud said to her husband after she went through menopause.
Gex was still having trouble dealing with Dad's death, but Mom thought she knew just what to... This is written in the manual! Gex is still having trouble dealing with Dad's death! What? That night the doorbell rang and a burly older lizard came in carrying a basket of treats. He said his name was Harv and he lived next door and wanted to welcome the new neighbors. As he passed out various chocolate-covered bugs to Gex's sibling, Harv mentioned a little too loudly that he had one spot left on his Saturday all-pro girl-watching team. Okay.
Gex told him from in front of the TV that Jack Tripper was available.
But only if he could get out of the 2 dates he had made for the same night. That night the doorbell... that's the same paragraph. I need a sip of my energy drink.
Harv seemed a little confused. He whispered something to Mom and then took a seat next to the tuned-out Gecko. Then Harv asked Gex straight out if he would like to take that spot on the team. Gex replied that he'd love to, but had promised Bosley that he would watch the Angels for him all week. Harv chuckled and suggested that maybe Gex was getting a little too much TV and needed to get outside.
Without taking his eyes off the set, Gex explained that the last time he'd gone outside, his dad blew up, surrounded by gallons of burning tapioca. This is really in here!
Completely out of ideas, Harv bid Mom an exasperated farewell and left. Now what was a concerned mother to do? The next morning, Gex came running downstairs, expecting to have breakfast with the banana splits as usual, when he froze in his tracks. The TV was gone. This must have been some kind of a joke. Was it out for repairs? Did someone break in and steal it? Come on, man, this isn't funny. The room began to spin. Gex needed a TV fix. The little suction cup on his hands were beginning to twitch. What the heck was going on? Just then, his mother came into the room. If you're looking for the TV, I gave it away to some early this morning, she said. She told him that enough was enough, and he needed to start doing things like a normal gecko. Go catch some flies, practice walking up walls, enter a tongue-lashing contest, but for cripe's sake, stop watching TV. Gex could not believe this. The one thing in his life that had meaning was gone. and his mother was behind it. Exploding with rage, Gex announced that he was never setting foot inside this TV-less house again and stormed out the front door. Mother ran after him, begging him to stay, but it was too late. She had done the unthinkable, and this was the result. The next few months were a blur. Gex hooked up with some local punks and spent his days skateboarding to the mall, hanging out in comic stores and blaring music through his Walkman, trademark, on a cliff overlooking the city. He slept in a friend's garage and made pocket money doing errands for frustrated housewives. Jesus. His entire existence became one long, aimless haze, with none of his TV friends around to help out. This seemed to be how he would spend the rest of his life. Or was it? One day, as he was skateboarding along, talking to his invisible buddy, the mayor, life on the streets does things to a gecko, a long black limo pulled up. Gex was about to have his honor go insult the driver, when the rear window rolled down and he saw his mother. Mom told Gex she was so glad to have finally found him because she had fantastic news. 3 days after he had left, Gex's great uncle Charlie had kicked the bucket and left his entire estate to the family. The amazing part was that, unbeknownst to the family, Uncle Charlie was the original model for the iZod shirt logo. This is another trademark. He had invested his meager modeling salary back into company stock. At the time of his passing into the great beyond, Uncle Charlie's estimated worth was over $20 billion. The family was rich. Shocked out of his mind, Gex jumped into the air, told the mayor he had just been impeached, and hopped into Mom's limo. The hard times were over. He was going to start living life right. For the next few weeks, the entire family went on a mad spending spree, buying houses, cars, local judges, and politicians. Mom purchased 51% ownership in NASA, then fired everybody, sold the rockets to some third world countries, and converted Mission Control into a themed restaurant featuring robotic dancing chimps wearing spacesuits. Gex's siblings said they had always wanted to see Australia, so they bought it. Gex, on the other hand, was not into all the cars, jewels, and other extravagances. He took his share of the fortune, turned it into his pants pocket. He
doesn't wear pants at all in this game. Ever, I don't think.
He took his share of the fortune, tucked it into his pants pocket, and went for a walk. He walked and walked and walked, wondering what to do with his share. Then it hit him.
Well, okay, it says it hit him. Another typo. Good job, guys.
He would use the cash to fulfill a long-time dream. Exactly 1 hour later, Gex called his mother down at her restaurant, Space Monkeys, and told her goodbye. He was going back to Hawaii. He was going to have the biggest house on Maui, fill it with the world's largest TV set and enough food for decades, and then seal himself inside. He was going to spend the rest of his life watching all his old TV friends getting into outrageous situations or amazing adventures. Mom wished him the best of luck, then ran off to rewire some faulty chimps. Gex hung up the phone and headed out to build his dream. In a few days, Gex was parked in front of his TV, munching from a nearby bowl of flies. He was in the middle of flipping through channels to see what was on. Nope, 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 he droned as he clicked the remote again and again and again, surfing through reruns of Kung Fu Theater, a wacky cartoon, and an old Indiana Jones movie. How old would an Indiana Jones movie be if like the Partridge Family and shit is on? Those shows were so boring. He'd already seen all of them at least 1,000,000 times. He was ready for something different. Frustrated, Gex started clicking all the remote's buttons rapid fire, speeding through the channels in a super fast blur. When he was clicking and kicking back, a fly buzzed by. Gex flicked out his long tongue and gulp, down it went. But the fly was in reality a metallic transmitter. Gex was bugged.
Da-da! It's a good pun. It's a good pun, gang.
Suddenly, Gex remote jammed and the TV blanked. A huge hand shot out of the screen, grabbed Gex by the neck, and zit. Just like that, Gex had been yanked through his TV into the media dimension. The cold claw belonged to Rez, who had hooked Gex with a bugged fly. Rez was the lord of the media dimension. He now intended to make Gex the new network mascot. Out with the new peacock and in with the gecko. What's funny is that kind of like is what happened with the Gecko. Jesus, I've been reading this for 12 minutes. Gex could only escape by getting his paws on the remote controls hidden throughout the media dimension. Once he had the remotes, he could destroy the TV sets that blocked the exits and were the portals into the next worlds. Gex had to find the last remote, blow up the last TV in the last world, and make it home, or spend the rest of his Gecko life as a bronzed network mascot. Okay, and that was a TV baby day. That was a bad TV baby day by Gex, as read by Dylan Mars Greenberg from the Gex Manual.
Okay, so the backstory of Gex
Holy static cling, Batman!
involves 2 familial deaths and his hardcore TV addiction that within the game itself is a punchline and an excuse for him to spew catchphrases is actually a symptom of the depression that he fell into due to the tragic and violent death of his father. Gex becomes homeless and even seals himself up in an apartment in the hopes of completely disconnecting from the world in order to avoid dealing with the horrific death of a loved one. Hey, Crystal Dynamics, what the fuck? What the fuck, guys? Hey, what's up, Gex writer Rob Cohen? Extremely prolific and Emmy award-winning comedy writer and director, as well as former spouse of Janine Garofalo. He was also in The Love Guru. What a strange rabbit hole I've began to tumble down. What's going on? What am I doing with my life? So let's talk about Gex. Hey everybody. You ready to talk about Gex? It's Gex time, baby. Tail time! It's tail time.
It's tail time!
Whiplash-inducing power.
It's tail time!
Precise traction, excellent suspension.
Shields up, Captain.
Advanced digital sound.
4 on the floor, baby.